Good team, welcome back to the Farm Sim 2022-25 showcase, and this is episode 3. And look, we'll get straight into it because you're probably getting bored of all these menus by now. But I did say a lot to learn. So animals was where we left it off. And I kind of rushed through the yields, but we did cover some of those things. Probably the most obvious things is some of them give you very definite numbers, and some of them do not. If you have the field info on, so when you run up to a field and you have field info on, it will tell you what the yield bonus is. So he's now up to 98%. He must have fertilized while we were talking. So yeah, so use the field info to give you some general advice on that. So animals can be very lucrative, very time consuming, very lucrative, very fun if you want to get into that kind of thing. Chickens in particular is kind of funny. I did do horses on FS19. A bit of faff around horses, to be fair. Cows, I did dairy cows, beef cows, can't remember. I did sheep for wool. If I've done pigs, I can't remember. But I've done a bunch of them, and then they all follow pretty much the same thing, which is you actually need quite a bit of space. Now, the maps aren't set up. Well, this map isn't set up for animals, so you have to buy land. We'll talk about that soon. And then you have to buy a building and set everything up, and there's a bunch of things to do with that. You know, your animals are going to need somewhere for bedding. Probably they're going to need somewhere where you're going to be able to offload water. They probably produce waste manure, so you probably need to pick that up. So there's going to be a place to pick that up, and then they have feeding area, and you need to feed them. It depends on the pens that you buy or the housing that you buy for your animals, barns, etc., where those action areas are. But you just learn from the buildings that you buy. What you will need is a lot of flat space. So if you're heading down that road, look for a smallish size field. They take up some space, but they don't take up a vast amount of space unless you're doing an awful lot of them. And you can set up their barns. There's another couple of things with pastures for stuff, and you can get things like the fenceless pasture mod and stuff, which lets cows and sheep roam around. They never roam beyond your area, but you don't actually see fences and stuff. So there's a bunch of different options available for them. And obviously, if you have animals, they do produce manure, and you can actually use manure in some cases to fertilize your crops, or they produce slurry, and you can have slurry and a slurry tank, and you use that to fertilize your crops, and so on and so forth. And there's quite a bit of management, and there's different kinds of loading vehicles, non-loading vehicles, and like I said, food, etc., etc. And then obviously you probably want your animals to reproduce. And when you're buying animals, you choose their age, their reproductivity status. They might be too young, they might be sexually mature. You obviously choose whether you want boys and girls, and so on and so forth. So there's a whole load of animal husbandry stuff that's already at the animal dealer. But you need to make them happy, right? So as I said here, age, space available, and health. You cram too many in, they don't feel up for it, obviously. If they're unhealthy, they don't feel up for it. If they're too young, they don't feel up for it. If they're too old, they definitely don't feel up for it. So there's a whole load of factors there. Cows, you need grass, hay, and total mixed ration. Which is fine. TMR is a bit of a pain. You can't buy it, but you can also make it. It's not that hard to make. And there's different breeds, right? So you've got the Brown, Swiss, and Holstein, Angus, and Limousin, and they need to be fed what they need to be fed, and it depends on what you want in terms of milk or beef, etc. Pigs, you got a few different kinds of pigs. The German landrace, which is what you and I would normally recognize as the pink pig. You have the Bentham Black Pied and the Berkshire. And like it says, they look different, but the pigs all behave the same. They're pigs. You're making pigs because you want bacon at the end of the day, or pork. So that's what you're doing with pigs. Horses are a little bit different, obviously, because you're neither milking nor eating them. You're breeding them, you're getting them into good condition, and then you're on-selling them. And they come in a variety of different colorings, which again is purely visual. I don't think it makes any difference to the price either. But the fitter they are, the more money that you can get for them. But you need to ride them regularly. Like, you actually physically need to go to your horse and ride it around for a little while and then stop. So that's the kind of management with horses. Chickens are pretty easy. I did have a problem with mine. I had issues with the eggs that didn't seem to happen properly in FS19. So they turned out to be more of a nuisance than anything. Sheep was fine. Sheep with wool, that's not too bad. Wool was actually make quite a bit of money. So you can actually make quite a bit of money taking the wool down to the spinnery. There is a bit of faff loading it. You can get special equipment to load it. You can get special vehicles that will load it, and there's mods that help you keep it on the truck and everything. Bees. Bees is a new one to me. I don't know if it's new for this one. Did I ever do that? No, I don't think I ever did it. May have been in FS19 or not. Oh no, I did. I did have bees in FS19. That's right. Never really got into it, to be fair. Dogs is just for fun. You can have a dog wanders around your farm. You can throw a ball for it. And there's a list of things here for what you need to do for your animals. And like I say, if we get down to animals, and we'll do animals. We'll do something something fun. But we'll do it, and we'll go through all of the different bits and pieces. Most of it is relatively self-explanatory, I think, to be honest. TMR is a bit of a pain, but you can get mixing wagons, and it requires a certain proportion of straw, hay, silage, and mineral feed to make TMR. But if you have a TMR mixer, it tells you exactly how much you need to get. Sorry, they have a barn with a feeding robot. There is a barn that you can get. Which automatically feeds the cows, which is kind of funky. I had problems with mine on this FS19. It was a mod back then. It's inbuilt here, I think. And my barn robot kept stuffing up, and I couldn't get it to work properly. And it always seemed to be a little bit more hassle than just actually doing the TMR myself. So I used the TMR wagon. And like it says, it shows you the correct mix and ratio, and you can feed it. You can feed it yourself. So you can buy silos that you can drive under or drive next to, and you keep your various products in the silos, and you just keep filling it till you hit the right percentage bar, and then you stop, and then you move on to the next one, you stop, and then you hit it a few minutes in the mixer, and you've got TMR, and it's a piece of cake. That was always an easy one for me. Trees, this is a bit new. Trees in FS19 happened, and you had poplar. So you could plant poplar, and I briefly discussed poplar. It grows like a crop. You have to prepare a field, and then you have a harvester that harvests it and makes wood chips and collect it. But it used to be for forestry, there were forestry contracts that you could go out and do, but there were also wood on your land. So you bought land and had woodland attached to it. You could just go out and you could either pick up dead trees, or you could chop down new trees, and you could chop it up with a chainsaw. You could use forestry equipment. You could go and sell it. This seems to be new in FS22, is you now have a variety of different trees that you can go out and actually plant, I think. I'm not really sure. It doesn't say you can plant them. It says you can go and harvest them. We'll try and have a look at it. There are some maps which are forestry maps, and some people like doing it, and it's a very big thing. It's very different. You process wood very differently to how you process crops. You don't generally need to do anything for the trees to grow per se. You're just cutting them down, and you've got complicated gear. There's a bit of faff loading logging trucks, I found, and you know, issues with logs falling off logging trucks and getting stuck on logging trucks, and tipping logging trucks over, and all kinds of hassles. So forestry can be a little bit tricky. We'll see if we can get to that at some point. So there you go. So you can plant trees, but you do need a tree planter. So we'll see if we can we can do that. And there's also decorative trees, which is just something else. Using the chainsaw is pretty straightforward. It's a hand tool thing. We'll show you how to use hand tools and how to choose where to cut and how to cut, and some of the tips and tricks, which is actually don't cut. You need to cut low enough to the ground that you can probably use a stump grinder to get rid of it. If the tree stump is too long, a stump grinder won't do it. But if you cut it too low, they're hard to see, the stumps, but you can get tractors and vehicles stuck on it. It can be a real pain in the bum. So I always try and, forsake the fact that I might leave the stumps a little bit long, and then when I come along with a stump grinder, I can easily find the stuff, and then you can always chop up a little bit of log and throw it in the back, and you can sell scrap wood, or you can take it to be chipped and so on. And this is what they're telling about. You can sell either your whole logs, and you get there's value relationship with the logs that you have, which is what I was talking about with tree types here. Saying that where we are, the thickness and length of the trunk and the amount of branches depends on the type of tree, which has a direct influence on the sales value and the kind of processing. Trees with a lot of branches, less yield unless you cut off the branches, which you can use to produce wood chip. So you probably want to go for the conifers for timber, which is like the real world, and deciduous for wood chip. But it depends on you. You might have some pretty solid oaks, which are working pretty well. And wood chips, you as you say, you put it in a chipper, you chip it up, you take it away, and you sell it at the farmer's market or biogas. Stumps, I did kind of allude to the fact that there are stump grinders. There are front-facing and rear-facing stump grinders, as far as I can remember. And like I say, you need to be careful. Leave them long enough to find, because you can miss them. It is surprising. You can't cut quite close to the ground, and then they do apparently disappear from view. It's really bizarre. Right, getting into the economy. So there's a few things I need to talk about, and I've kind of talked generally about crops and the pricing and the pricing ranges and the pricing dynamics and the pricing at different times of year. Quick sip of tea. But there's also this new thing that they brought in called production chains, which again was a mod, and they brought it in properly. So it used to be you would just make stuff, harvest stuff, and go sell stuff, and that was fine. Fairly primary, tertiary. So you would just go, well, I'm making this stuff, and I'm taking it, and I'm selling it, and I'm getting the value that I get. That which is true. And then they brought in things like greenhouse mods and various other bits and pieces, which are great. They're not, well, they are a crop, but they're not technically a crop. Not in the sense we talked about them before. I've done greenhouses. They can be pretty lucrative. Tomatoes, lettuces, strawberries, various other things, which are all very good. You can grow those. All they really need is a water tank. It did used to, and I don't know if it makes a difference here. So you used to get a yield bonus by putting bees next to a greenhouse. You could also grow ornamental flowers. And sell ornamental flowers, and bees would help with that too. So if you had a bunch of greenhouses, you could put a bunch of bee boxes around it, and you were getting the yield bonus from the bees, and you're always getting good honey as well. That was definitely a thing. I don't know if it still is a thing. You have a variety of factories which take your product and do something with it, and we had a look at some of those things, like the oil plant, which will take your canola oil. You've got an olive oil mill. They take those things and they produce oil for you. You have the bakery, so it shows you the inputs here. The bakery needs flour, eggs, butter, sugar, strawberries, and milk, and you get cake or bread, right? And you need to own these buildings. They won't do it for you. So there is a bakery, but all the bakery is going to ask you for is stuff. The bakery is going to say, we want flour, or we want eggs, or you can go and just sell eggs to them, right? Because they're always going to need them for the bakery products. If you buy the bakery becomes yours. You can decide what you're going to make. You know, and we've talked about at different times of the year, different things add more value. So you might decide during some part of the year you're only going to make bread. So then you only need the things to make bread. But towards the end of the year, you need more things to make cake. So then you're going to make cake, and so on. And then you don't get the money from taking your flour to the bakery because the bakery is yours, but you get the money when you sell the cake or the bread, right? Carpentry shop requires planks, and I presume that's wood chips for wood pellets and things. The dairy needs sugar and milk to make chocolate and cheese and butter. And the grain mill needs grain to make flour, different kinds of grain. I think it just produces all one kind of flour. I don't think the game makes any differentiation between different kinds of flour. Spinnery, wool and cotton, which will get you fabric. Sugar mill, sugar beet, chopped sugar beet or sugar cane to get sugar. The tailor shop, fabric to make clothes. Cereal factory requires cocoa. I think that is corn. That's what is that? That's a particular crop. I can't remember which one that is. Sorry. It's not wheat. I don't think. No, canola maybe, and honey, which makes cereal. The oil mill will take any of those oils, and the grape processing will take grapes and produce. Oh, that's raisins, not cocoa. Wine and raisins. So that's raisins. Sorry. Getting confused with a completely different game altogether. So you can see that while we had a look at prices and discussed the fact that cake is worth an awful lot, to make cake, you are going to need to have a dairy because you need to make butter. So you're going to need to be cows to make milk, chickens to make eggs. You're going to need the dairy to process the milk into butter. You're going to need to be making some kind of a wheat product or something into flour to make flour. You are going to, which means you're going to need to have the grain mill as well to make flour. You're then going to want sugar, so you're going to want the sugar mill. You can buy all these things as well, you know. So, but you could own them all. You know, you're going to want the what else? So I think that's it for cake, really, isn't it? Butter, sugar. You're going to want greenhouses for strawberries and things. So you could, if you wanted to own the whole supply chain, buy a whole load of product and own the whole thing from cradle to grave. Or you could say, well, I'm just going to own the bakery, but I'm going to buy a whole load of product. Obviously, buying product has different prices at different times of the year. So what you would need to do is you would need to buy the product at the right time of the year when the prices are low, store the product, and then then obviously process it and so on. Depends on how much micromanagement you want to get into. This is a long-winded chinwag about basically what I have told you anyway, which is how to make various kinds of money. This is a various windbag about how to spend money, which is fine. Spending money, not a problem. Absolutely not a problem. You will spend a lot of money. And then we obviously have a few bits. Character creation, which is fine. You can muck around with that as much as you like. And things with like how do you pick up these objects and various other bits and pieces, which we will probably talk about. And we'll have a look at loading and not loading and the various bits and pieces that you can do with tractors and skid loaders and all kinds of bits and pieces at the end of the day. And there's an academy for a quote-unquote in-depth and growing list of tutorials. You could go nuts with all of this stuff, and it could really, really, really teach you a lot. So there we are. I think we have covered most of that. Over here is a bit of an overview of all of the gear that you can access on the map, can buy on the map. And it falls into a bunch of categories. And there's the vehicles, and then there's the tools. So the obvious thing is these are vehicles that you have to drive around in and that you drive and use, and the tools are the things that attach to the vehicles that you can then do things with. These are not self-propelled. So self-propelled, not self-propelled. Attachments, usually. Um, Tractors, probably most important. They come in small and medium and large. The difference being there down at the bottom, you'll see the engine size in horsepower, and it tells you, how much. I'm not sure what that CN6 is. That looks like a gas. Yeah, that's a gas-powered vehicle. So it's got an 80 kg fuel tank because it's methane powered. This is 80 kilowatt electric tractor, 80 liter diesel tractor, 80 liter diesel tractor, and so on. 105. The top speed they can go at, so top speed 40k. The speed at which they can do jobs depends on the piece of kit that they're using. Just by the way, 3.4 ton is, I think it's towing capacity. So machines have weight, and you try and put a 4-ton piece of kit on the back of this, ain't gonna work. You might move it just, but that doesn't mean that you can use it effectively. The little square boxes at the bottom is kind of interesting. So every map has this kind of box limit. You can see it up the top there. It says 4,400. We're currently using 1,160 of these boxes out of 4,400 available boxes. Every piece of kit you buy, every building you place down, and so on and so forth, that you keep, adds to that box count. Once you have achieved 4,400, you can't buy anything new. You can't put anything new down, etc., etc. You can still do crops and you can still do everything else that you are doing, but you cannot use more gear because of this limit. I don't know the technical ins and outs, but I'm sure it has to do with the processing power of the map and the computer and everything else. So it may have some importance to you, it may not. I mean, for me, probably the bigger issue with tractors is horsepower and pulling weight, because what you want to know is that you've got a very good horsepower vehicle that can pull what you want to pull as fast as you can do it. So that's it. And and the large tractors are large. They go up to like super large. These things, like, what is this? This is 458 horsepower and it's twin tracks and so on. You've got this thing. Where's the other one? Like the big boy is in here somewhere. You're getting into some serious 670 horsepower. Yeah, this thing, the big bud, 1,100 horsepower. It's ridiculous. It's what do you want this for? It tows 43.2 tons of what? I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah, and you got trucks and harvesters and forage harvesters and potato tech and beet tech and sugar tech, and like I've said, all of these kinds of things that go together. And there is an awful lot of them. And down to miscellaneous, you have things like this, which is a crazy harvester that can apparently harvest a whole bunch of stuff, as far as I can tell. 354 horsepower, 40k, tows 33.3 tons. It's got an 8-meter wide thing. Whatever that is. So collects materials from the ground and tips them into trailers. So it's like a great big Hoover, kind of. You've got this thing, which is basically a carrier vehicle and so on. You've got bits and pieces and stuff. There's too many to talk about, really. Too many to talk about, and they all have their uses. I've probably used. I'm not very familiar with grapes and olives. They came in particular for this FS22, and I haven't used it. Same with sugarcane, though I have done it. Beets I've done, potatoes I've done, crop protection, slurry tanks, mowers. Front loaders I did for forestry, pain in the bum. Wheel loaders I did for, I had silage, I think. Telehandlers I used a bit for feeding some stuff. Skid steer loaders I found them difficult. Forklifts difficult. Cars. I had one for moving. I had a van for moving eggs around. Because you don't want to move things like small stuff like eggs and things. It's just easier to move a little bit. Right, you have a variety of tools that attach to these. You have trailers, auger wagons, headers, corn headers, forage harvest headers, potatoes, beets, sugar, cotton, grape, and so on. And we discussed some of these things like cultivators, and spaders, and subsoilers, and power harrows, and all of that kind of bits and pieces, and how they all fit together in terms of disc harrows and what you're going to do with your land and everything else and all the rest of it. You've got fertilizer spreaders, muck spreaders, slurry spreaders, weeders. That one that show is one of my favorite. I use that a lot. It's nice and wide, and it's simple, and it's mechanical, and it's easy to use. Bale wrappers, bale loaders, windrowers, tedders, specialist forestry gear, animal transport, silo stuff, because you need to compact hay or grass in your silo to turn it into silage, which is something else which you need perhaps the leveler for as well, to level it off and then compact it with rollers and so on. You've got various loading tools, dollies, low loaders, header trailers, weights, winter gear, belt systems, and miscellaneous stuff, which is usually like little carrier wagons and various other bits and pieces. What's this thing here? A weight that helps keep a tractor's wheels on the ground and improves its balance. Okay, I've never used that, but alright. You've got various tractors and trailers and these kind of platforms, which are they're for some of these cars, so they have interchangeable decks for the utes, so you can drive under it and get a new deck on it, for example. Objects you can purchase, so big bag pallets of things, solid fertilizer, seeds, lime, wheat, oats, pig food and road salt. Oats is for eating, not for spreading. So like I said, you only buy seeds. You don't buy different brands of seeds. The seeds are seeds. You choose it when you're loading the seeds. Solid fertilizer is fertilizer. You have lime, and then you have this, which is to feed your animals, and road salt. You have big bags and pallets and bales, which is largely the same as that. You have these packs now, which are pretty good. So you say, I want to get stuck into wood chips. They go, okay, if you wanted to get stuck into wood chips, here's the kinds of things that you would need. You would need a tractor. You would probably need a tipper trailer. You're going to need something to cut down trees, like this bad boy. And you're going to need something to chop them up. So if you're not sure what gear you might need, and obviously this is fine if you had all this money, and we currently do, but we'll get onto that. You could go, right, okay, what do I need to do this? Oh, I need this kind of gear. Okay. This is kind of good stuff. You might say, nah, mate, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do what I need with a chainsaw and a chipper, and that's all I'm gonna do, which is fine. You might find it a bit time consuming. So you say, no, what do we want to do? I think what we do is we want to do olives. You go, okay, you want to do olives. This is the gear you're gonna need for olives. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need a tractor. You're gonna need this special olive harvester. You're going to need a sprayer, because you need to spray around the olives. You're going to need a mulcher for mulching. And you're going to need to carry some stuff about. And you're going to need a subsoiler, that kind of thing, which can be used instead of a plow, which suits perfectly for grape and olive farming, apparently. So that will give you a bit of a hint, a bit of a leg up. Here's what you need for potatoes. You could do that. You could tow this thing, this harvester. It's an absolute pain. There is one which does it automatically, because this is the oh no, this must have a built-in header to it, the Ropa. I didn't think it did. It doesn't look like it does have a header to it. Which is interesting, because I think they may have missed that very important piece of information on this kit, because this plants potatoes, it doesn't dehead them. So, and that's a cultivator, and these are the pallets of seeds and weights and stuff. So anyway, so yeah, so if you're not sure, come into the packs and have a look and say, I want to do sugarcane. You're gonna need this stuff. And you go, blimey, really? Am I? Okay. Sugarcane is different. You don't get seeds for sugarcane. Like poplars, you don't get seeds. They come in these pallets and they go into these special kinds of billet planters. This is a second-hand vehicle shop, so you can pick up some quality vehicles. You know, you go to yourself, ooh, I need that harvester's not bad. Axial flow 92050. It's a good size, 634 horsepower. It's got a 14,400 liter tank. It can harvest a whole load of stuff, and it's 58% off. And you choose the header that you want for the plants that you're taking. That's not too bad. That's not a bad deal, that one. Yeah, okay, cultivator, whatever. This monstrous great big thing here, this cultivator, it does a lot. It is expensive. 45% off, 39% off. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, obviously. Stuff that we own, which is nothing. Stuff that we've leased, which is nothing. Mods that are kicking around that I think we have. Yeah, these are the mods that we have. So it says that it's here. And what's it called? Customize. So you can have a look at monkeying around with that mod. So that that tractor appears a particular way for you. And this is interesting. So I wanted to get with this because we'll get with construction and farmland in a minute. Wardrobes, what it is, mess around and you can change, all the features of all the people that you want, that whoever is going to represent you on the farm, right? So whatever you want your person to look like, you can do that. You end up with this woman. You can change her clothes and everything else and all the rest of it. So we'll leave her the way she was, because I was quite happy with that. I shouldn't have dropped out of the menu because I'm going to quick save. I'll have a quick cup of tea. And I'll get out of here. So that's pretty straightforward, the wardrobe. Animal dealer, you need to have stuff first before you can use that. So you can go and buy animals direct from the animal dealer. It depends. I think there's one where they will send you can pay to have the animals transported to your farm, and they just turn up at the barn that you have or the pen that you have, or you can choose to do it yourself. It's entirely up to you. If you're going to be moving a lot of animals, you're probably going to have an animal transport. If you aren't going to be moving a lot of animals, so say you are working on dairy or wool, you're going to be moving the product, not the animal. If you're doing beef, you're probably going to want to move the animals. So you might have an animal trailer for beef or pigs, that kind of thing. So you might want to have one and then not pay the animal dealer to send animals to your farm, whatever. The construction menu is detailed, is how we can say it. So you have these things, and I'm using left and right D-pad for these. So you got buildings, and down here you have sheds, silos, silo extensions, containers, tools, and farmhouses. And you can select those. You can go, oh, I see, and that's the state of that. I think with do you need to go down? You do. You need to just keep going down with the D-pad to get it. Weighing stations, biomethane, electric chargers. Obviously, if you have an electric tractor, having your own electric charger on your farm would be great. Vehicle workshops. You can kind of do quite a bit yourself in the vehicle workshop, which helps. I mean, it still costs money, but yeah, it's stuff that you can kind of do. A weather station. Yeah, okay, never had the need for one. This is your Kärcher pressure washer, which is for cleaning your vehicles and that kind of thing. Depends on how much you want to get into that. Containers, these are on-site containers. So liquid fertilizer tanks, stainless steel fertilizer tanks, a silo that can be filled with a different variety of products. So you're probably going to want your own storage at some point. You have silo extensions, which you can get, which again tell you you're adding 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, 250,000 liter tanks. You have manure heap extensions, liquid manure pads, water tanks, and so on. Silos, etc., sheds, etc., etc., and it goes through all of the variety of things to do with that. Production-wise is factories that you can buy and place yourself. Obviously, you know that's up to you in terms of is it worthwhile going through that, or just buy one that already exists. Selling points, which is again a place to sell things. You have pizzerias, farmers markets, debris crushers, restaurants, biomass, etc., etc. If there's things you would like on your map that don't exist on your map, you want to create more financial opportunities, you can do all of that. Orchards, these are how to create grapevines and olive groves, and we'll go through that at some point. And then you've got power generation, which obviously, you know, you'll see it automatically sells power, so you can determine how much money you're making from selling power. You could decide to go, well, I've got a great big bunch of land and I can't use it, but I can squeak a couple of small wind turbines on there, and that'll generate me 13,920 a month. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Animals, like I said, pens and farms. So this is a cow pasture. So if you select it, it gives you an indication of how big this space is, and then you know you can drag and do all kinds of bits with it to define the size. It won't let me do anything on land that's not mine. I don't own anything, so it isn't going to let me do a thing. You can have a barn with an automatic area for itself. I can't quite see it on the map. Oh, there it is. And you can rotate these things round with R1 and L1. So you go, well, I'm going to build that there, and actually the paddock goes out to the right in this case, even though you can't see it. It's red because I can't plant it. If it was my land, it wouldn't look red, it would look green, and I could plonk it down. It would destroy all of the crop underneath and make a space and all the rest of it. That's a small cow barn for 45 cows. You have an 80 cow barn. 80 cow barn with the feeding robot. A 45 cow barn with an open roof. You know, you've got different things for... Oh, keep doing that. This is not what I want to do. Nor that one. Where were we? Production? No, animals. You have horses, stuff for horses, pigs, different kind of stuff for pigs, stuff for sheep, little chicken coops, and so on. Bees, different kinds of bee hives, which do different kinds of things, obviously. You can have a look at these. Some of them are kind of funky, which is fine. And you got dog. Hello, dog. Decorations is entirely what it says it is on the tin. A vast list of decorations. So it's not... They don't have much in the way of material effect. And some of them are real pains to use to build, like lengths of fencing and stuff. They can be quite expensive, and they don't always line up properly. The build mechanism not great on PlayStation, or it wasn't. It might be better for this one. I don't really know. Different lights, they do actually function, so you will get light from them, which is fine. You might want that on some of your farms. And then purely decorative stuff, which is, you know, a wooden garden shed. This is about you making your game more immersive and more fun. Landscaping. Now, landscaping is always one of those fun things, because if you're trying to sculpt your land, and you've got raise and lower, and you've got level, and you've got soften, and you've got slope and everything, you can burn, it says 10, but you can burn through a lot of money doing that, so do be careful. Painting, You can paint driveways in. Again, it's purely decorative, but you can change how it looks. I've done that before. Sometimes when you drop assets, they don't necessarily look as good as you would like them to look. So you want to add that kind of thing in. And we got trees, different kinds of trees that you can plant, and so on and so forth. Which, as it says here, these are decorational, okay? These are not trees that you can harvest. So don't go out and go, oh yeah, look, I can plant a whole load of these pines and I'll get a whole load of money for them. These are purely decorational objects. I'm just telling you so you've been told. And a whole bunch of other stuff for bushes and things. Flowers, daylilies, etc., etc. So that's all jolly good. And wrong menu. So this is where I want to get to, because this is farmland. So this is land that we can buy. So everything that is dark in color we can buy. And if you select it with R3, it will tell you that this bit of farmland costs $226,656 to buy, right? Which is just grand. So individual plots of land. So this is purchasable. And you can get this wobbly old bit of land for $479,000. So it is actually field 34, but it's like three fields together, 4 fields together, 3 fields together is field 34, which is a bit weird. But anyway, you got this tiny little thing up here, field 31, which you cannot actually buy because I can't select on. Oh, there you go, field 31, 423,000, probably because of all those trees. So you can probably harvest all those trees up there. That's what that's about. But the reason we're here is we're down here, right? You may not know this, but we are down here. We're down here at farm number 1. This is a fully functioning farm for $156,264. So all of this stuff, barns, silos, these fields, etc., all of those kinds of things we can buy because we're down here, field number 45, field number 46. So if we go to this one, farmland, they say this farm plot here, number 1, we can purchase all of that for $156,264. We could go down here to field farm lot 50 and buy that one. For $244. There's this one here, number 60, we could buy, and it will show you the fields that you get attached to it. There's a farm here, 32, 577. There's a farm over here with buildings attached to it. But seeing as we are here, and seeing as the intention is to kind of start here, we're going to start this map by purchasing this bit of land. We have the money, we have 1.5 million, so we are buying it, we are buying it, we are now the proud owner of it. This is our farm, this is how we're going to start the game. And we have these things which are like, oh, what is this for? This is the help menu. That's awesome. We already have a help menu. Open the help menu. Alrighty, got that. What about this one? What's over here? Deer. Oi! What are you doing on my land? Clear off! Clear off there! Clear off there! Right. Can't hunt the deer. We'll go whizzity whiz bang over here. What have we got over here? Nothing. This is just help menu stuff. This is... What is this? This is nothing at the minute that I can see. This is a building. Is this where we're meant to live? No, this appears to be an empty box, so some kind of production thing going on over here? Maybe? Water? Don't know. We have this barn, which has a gate here. So we got some space under here that we can utilize. We have what appears to be a sort of a tool shop. We got this, what is it saying here? Throw object, pick up object. There's someone making a map down here. There's tools that you can pick up. This is all just stuff to muck around with. It's not really critical to the game. We have a space upstairs, which is jolly good. So this is in theory some kind of some kind of a storage space, leads to the outside world, etc. You've got another space upstairs you can go. So we've purchased all of this. There's some general tat and junk and things. Doesn't quite let me pick it up, I don't think. So you've got all this jazz out here, which is all part of the fun and games. None of this is a place to sleep. Got a nice loft. Got some rubbish. Got some what appears to be unusable bags of things. That's the outside. That's the other barn we've looked at before. We got things over here. Looks like a water butt and so on. We've got a big silo, but this is not, I believe, a functional silo, because if it was a functional silo, this is, I think, to me purely decorative, there would be some interaction points on the ground, and there aren't. So there you go, and that's it. So this is our land. What's this over here? This is corn. We're getting a yield bonus of 98%. That's fine. It says you can get rid of some weeds, but probably don't need to. This is going to get us a yield bonus of 98% when it's finally grown, which is also good. What we don't have is a place to sleep. Pardon me. This is a spare plot of land. We don't seem to have... We've got a playground, but we don't have anywhere to sleep as yet. We've got this thing, which is like a little fire pit kind of a thing. And this just says, open the help menu again, which you do when you get to here, and it goes, this is things you need to know about transport. Okay, great, that's awesome. Mail. My mailbox. Pick it up, throw it away. No thank you. So, we can then go back to our map. When we're done. And we can have a look, and we can see that this is our land. It doesn't. I don't think it shows you on the map in particular under that one that it's yours. I think you have to go back to the other one with the farmland and show that it's yours. But the 45, 46, and 44 are ours, and we have these buildings. Does it give me an indication of what this weird building is at the back? No, not in particular, but it does tell me the condition of these various other bits and pieces. So if we wanted to, we should have somewhere to sleep. So what we might want to do is say to ourselves, well, how are we going to sleep for now? Right, we got all this stuff here, we got all this thing here. What are we gonna do for now? We have this field, which is ours as well, I do believe. We've got maybe a little space out here we're not going to use. So what we might do is, if we go to this one and we go to construction, we got buildings. You see there's farmhouses. Go along to the farmhouse at the end. Now there's a grand farmhouse, which if we pick that, it won't even let me pick it. Oh, sorry. If we pick this one, it's pretty big. It's pretty big, and it collides with the player, which is a nuisance. I don't know if I'd want to put it there. You could, in theory, just like whop it in the middle and say, we want to put a house right there, right on the edge of the field, and we're going to live in the middle, and we've got a barn on either side, and we're kind of out the back here, and we're kind of central. We might want to sneak a little bit of that paddock, but not too much. It seems to be sort of aligned, or it was, and say that's 150,000 bucks. It doesn't quite line up, does it? That looks pretty good. And we'll say Is that enough space, do you think? I'm gonna go bonk. Right. So we've just shelled out for a very nice house. So we've got this very nice farmhouse down here, which has, look what it's done, honestly. It's created this huge, great, big, disastrous, lumpy area, which we'd have to do something with. But otherwise, this is our house, this is our farmhouse. The ground's not exactly 100% flat, so we might have to do something to kind of sort that out. It's very nice. It's got lights on upstairs because it's nighttime, so it's the bedroom. And when you want to, you come up here, it'll give you the option to sleep. You say, I want to sleep, and it'll let you sleep, and then you can sleep the night away and get through to the morning. How's about that? So there we are. So we're ready to go. This is our farm. We're ready to go. We're ready to get started. We've been through all the menus. We've been through everything we need to go through. So what we need to do first is let's have a look at the map. So we are growing corn and wheat, I believe, isn't it? Corn and wheat. So corn and wheat is not due to be harvested for a while. Corn in October. So corn will be the first thing we're going to need to harvest, and we got wheat. So for right now, we got nothing to do except contracts. So what we want to do is we want to have what's going to make us. We've just shelled out a fair amount of money. To be fair, we had 1.5 million, and we now have 1.1 million. Just in case you didn't know. So I reckon what we'll do is we'll get started on some significant baling, and we'll borrow this guy's kit from him, and what we'll do is we will have a look at a baling contract. So I'm going to hit triangle, which is borrow items. If you hit square to accept the contract, it won't let you'll forego the possibility of borrowing items, and then you'll be stuffed because you'll have to go and lease it yourself. And trust me, if you lease it yourself, it'll cost you a truckload more than $1,571. So you're best off borrowing it. So if you hit triangle, you borrow it. We're now ready to go on this guy's contract. What we want to do is we want to go to the shop. So we'll find the map and we'll go to the shop because everything ends up at the shop. And if you use R3 to select the shop, you can visit it with square. And all this stuff has miraculously appeared. So this is all of the farming stuff that we're going to use. It's big gear, isn't it? I mean, you think, wow, this is big stuff. This this windrower is a monster. So we're doing grass bales because there's no tedder. So we've got the mowers, we've got the windrower, we've got a baler, we've got a wrapper, so it's going to be wrapped, and we've got a pickup truck to pick up the bales. So that's great. That's a solid start. So if we, using our L1, you'll see that up in the top menu, if you use L1 and R1 and L1 and R1, it changes different menu options. We'll toggle the map. So we can now see the map. You can see field number 71 down there at the bottom. So we need to get our tractor with our mowers, and we're going to head down to field 71, and we're going to start this contract underway, and we're going to see how we go. And I'm going to cover some of the controls and various bits and pieces that we're going to need to do that. But that's going to be the next episode. So I did promise that we would get into some gear, and we have got into some gear. By the way, when you get into the trucks, it's up and down on the D-pad to zoom in and out. They don't show you that anywhere. You just have to know that. And left and right will select between multiple vehicles, which we'll get to when we have multiple vehicles. But when you're in, you have a bunch of different controls, like cruise control, which comes in handy if you're doing large fields, because you don't want to manage the speed manually. You can just set cruise control. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to sort out this gear, and I know from my experience, and that I have used these things before, that this one goes on the front, and when you drive up to it, it'll say attach. There you go. Attach the Pottinger Novercat. And the other one goes on the back. When it comes out of the shop, it's always pointing the right way. They're always pointing the same way. Alright? So all the hookups are pointing towards the shop, in this case, on this map. So we've got our gear hooked up. We're ready to go. We've got, it's all ready for transport. It's all folded up. It's all looking hunky-dory. Jolly good. You know, all the blades and choppers. It's all looking fantastic. We're on here with this JCB, you know, and this Novacat. Sometimes this hire gear is a good way for you to get used to a vehicle and go, you know, you might drive this for a bit and go, you know, I really like that tractor. I want to buy one of those. I'm going to buy an 8330 because I really like it. That might be the case. You might go, yeah, I'm going to buy it. I like those Pottinger cutters. I'm going to buy one. And they are good. They are very good cutters. So we are going to head off to field number 71. We're going to get started on our contract. We're going to start doing some farming. We're going to start making money. And we're going to start looking at what we can do in Farm Sim 22 and how we can make it all function. And I will do that next time. Do drop a like, do subscribe to the channel, do click the bell notification so you know when the next one of these comes out, and I will see you all for some grass cutting very, very soon. Ta-ta for now.